Well, I'm staying out of the kitchen today. I'm not having much success in there anyway. And I said I was a storyteller, so I'm going to tell you a story. First, I need to explain a few things to you. You see this little thing right here? I call it my clicker. I can press the little button on that, and I can click you on and click you off. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you can tell I'm having problems. Never did know much about computers, just enough. All I wanted to know was turned on, turned off, and punch the button that I like. Doesn't work quite that way. And people get a little bit aggravated with me when I can't understand what to do. But I'm hoping you'll bear with me. I've got a good story I want to tell you today. Old age ain't what it's cracked up to be. Don't let anybody fool you. Those golden years, I'm still waiting for that gold to come floating through the door. So far it hasn't. But I do know one thing. Some of the funniest stories I've ever heard come out of the mouths of the elderly. They can tell funny stories. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that have happened, and you need to learn a little bit about me. I moved here into a 9-story condominium 22 years ago. It's the ideal place for people like me, has good security, and when I came in, there were a lot of elderly people. Now, I don't know what you call elderly, but I've come to the conclusion you're not elderly until you're over 80 years old. You're still middle-aged till then. So I'm in the group that's elderly. Let's see, where do I want to start? I'll tell about the fire alarm. We have fire alarms here that are in the hallways. Now, there are 12 units on each floor, so that's a lot of apartments with the fire alarm on each floor. And a lot of these elderly people are like me. They wear hearing aids. Well, you know what happens? When you take those hearing aids out to go to bed at night, it doesn't matter how many fire alarms you've got. You're not going to hear them. So they told us they would have a designated person on each floor that would make sure that everyone was out of their apartment in the event there was a fire or an emergency. Okay, I got to wondering who's going to be the one on my floor. If it's me, it's not going to work because I won't hear the fire alarm. And I don't know anybody on this floor that's young enough to get from one apartment to another, because most of them are in wheelchairs and on walkers. By the time they got to my door, it'd be too late. Although the elevator's directly in front of my front door, and you know what they say, you don't take the elevator. Did you hear that fire truck going by? Well, you may hear that more often. Anyway, I look at that little sign that says, in the event of fire, do not take the elevator, take the stairwell. And I look at that and I think, I don't know about this. So we have fire drills. They let us know when there's going to be a fire drill, and everybody is prepared for it. And of course, when you know what time it's going to be, you'll hear the fire alarm. Most of the people don't bother to go down and go to the lobby or out the front door. There's no need for that. They just checking the fire alarm equipment, what they're doing. But one night, now this has been a number of years ago, one night, it's about 10 o'clock. I stay up late, I sleep late. And I was still fully dressed and watching TV, and I heard, I think that sounds like the fire alarm. So I go and I open my door, and sure enough, right there in front of me, the fire alarm's going off. 10 o'clock at night, that's not the time for a drill. I better check this out. So I slipped my shoes on, and of course, the first thing I did, I grabbed my purse, because anything important is going to be in my purse. So I grabbed my purse, and I started down the hall to the stairwell. When I got there, now keep in mind, I'm on the 8th floor. I've got 8 double flights of stairs to go down. I'm not much of a walker in the first place, but if there's a fire, you better believe I can make it. So I open the door, and the stairwell is already filled up to the 8th floor. Oh gosh, I'm the last in line. Right in front of me is a couple. He kind of reminded me of the Jolly Green Giant, big tall guy, and he had a big stick that he held on to and carried it with him everywhere he went. So he was prepared to get his way down the steps. His wife, a little short lady, she was on a walker. Now, a walker's not that easy to handle going downstairs. They were right in front of me. I looked down at the landing, and there sat a man in his wheelchair with an oxygen tank connected to him, and there were 1 or 2 others with walking canes. And I'm thinking, how long's it going to take us to get down to the lobby? 8 double flights of stairs ahead of me. I'm not sure this is good, and everybody's sniffing. Said, nobody smells any smoke yet. Anybody know where the fire is? Nobody knows where the fire is. We managed 2 flights. We got to the 6th floor. We still didn't know if there was a fire. Little by little, we got down to the lobby, and we learned that some young person, and there were several young people living in the apartment building, had burned their popcorn. And instead of opening the window and let the smell and the smoke go out, they opened their front door and the fire alarm went off. Well, we handled that okay, but my thinking was, when it comes to a real fire, I'm not going to be that nice, sweet, gentle little lady who waits her place in line. I'm going to be the first one down in the lobby. If there's a real fire, I'm going to be like a snake, sniveling right through those people. And I'm going to be out of this building. So that's the situation with the only time I can recall anything about fire. I made several friends here, and great friends, wonderful people, funny. These ladies were so funny, and 2 especially. They're both gone now. One of them, her name was Pat too. She was probably one of the most talented people I've ever met. She was so funny in everything she said or did. And one day she's telling me about she had to go to the bank. And you know what can happen sometimes when you put on your brake in your car and you don't have on the right shoes and your foot slips from the brake and hit the accelerator. Well, I don't think I have to tell you what happened next. But my friend Pat, she pulled up in front of the bank, and it's one of those newer banks that had that plexiglass all across the front, all glass. Her foot got caught when it went from the brake to, it slid down to the accelerator and got stuck. And Pat went through the plate glass window of the bank and was sitting in the middle of the lobby. Well, the security man came running over to her. Oh, he was so excited, and he jerked the car door open and he says, "Lady, are you all right?" She said, "Oh, I thought I was going through the drive-through." Well, some people just don't have a sense of humor. He didn't find anything funny about that. But as she said, what could I say? I went through the plate glass window, but I was fine. Well, of course, I found that very funny, very funny. Then the other lady, that lady, she was 100 years old when she died. Very smart. And she spoke her mind no matter what you thought. She didn't mind at all telling you her opinion of anything. So she's telling me about writing for a little magazine. She had an article in the magazine each month. And we all look forward to hearing her opinion about world events and politics and what's going on in the neighborhood. So she told me one night, well, it was one day, she was at work, it was her birthday. So the boss decided to give her a medical alert for her birthday, and it would be, the monthly premiums would be paid, and she was to wear that at all times. So she goes home, or comes home, I should say. She lived about 3 floors below me. And she said she read the instructions for the medical alert. And she's about 4'9", little petite lady, high-pitched voice. And she said, I wanted to see how the medical alert worked. And she came to the part where it said, you can wear your medical alert in the shower. Okay. She tried out. So she gets in the shower that night. She takes her shower. Of course, she took her hearing aids out, laid them over on the countertop. And she takes her shower, and as she's getting ready to get out of the tub, she hears a noise. Well, that sounds like the fire alarm. Well, she wraps a towel around her, and she creeps to her front door, and she reaches, and she pulls that door open like this, and looks out, and there stand 6 EMTs and the director of the board here at the towers. And she says, is there a fire in the building? And one of the young EMTs, dressed in full uniform, the big hat, the axe, the hoses, the whole works, he said, ma'am, your medical alert went off, and we have tried to call you to see, are you okay? She said, I don't wear my medical alert in the shower anymore. Well, these are the kinds of stories you hear when you're my age. Some may not think they're funny, but I think they're hilarious. That's just the way us old folks are. Take us as we are. I could tell you several stories about myself. One of them might include running down 4 big blue Herbies. You know what the big blue Herbies are, those big garbage, those great big garbage cans, you know, that the city requires residents to use. I had taken a one-way street to get back home, and it would be a shortcut for me. Well, I got on that one-way street, and it's almost to the end, and there was a big garbage truck and had the cones sitting on the street, and I couldn't get by the truck, couldn't go anywhere. Well, if I turned around and went back, I'd be going the wrong way on a one-way street. So there was a big parking lot there, and I said, oh, I think I see a driveway going kind of uphill, and it will take me to the street that I want. It was a very narrow driveway, and of course, I was looking out the the driver's side to make sure that I didn't sideswipe the next building. It was an apartment building. I was watching that, and all of a sudden, I hear what sounded like 4th of July fireworks. I had sideswiped 4 big blue Herbies, and the lid popped open like this each time I hit one. I was all right, but I think the young man standing up on the sidewalk beside his bicycle was stunned. He couldn't move, and I'm not sure what he was thinking. Didn't hurt those Herbies one bit. All it did was take the door handle off my car and left a streak all the way down one side of my car. So that's what happens when you sideswipe a big blue Herbie. It's not one of those stories I tell everybody, but you know, it happened. And when I called my mechanic and I said, I need you to order me a new door handle for my car. Oh, really? What happened? I won't tell you how loud he laughed when I told him my story. But he's a darn good mechanic. Now, I'll have other stories to tell you. But I want to tell you, see this little thing? I clicked you on, and it's what I'm supposed to use to click you off. So, I'm going to press it, and if it works, great. If it doesn't work, put your fingers in your ears. You don't want to hear what I have to say. Okay, here goes. Didn't work.